What's up, everybody? Happy Friday and welcome to the Leveling Up Book Club. We are ending 2020 with a bang. A lot of you guys already know, we are reading The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene.
That's a phenomenal book. You read it? Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. So we're on the first 8 chapters of this book. We are going to be running this book through the end of the year. We'll be wrapping it up right before Christmas. It's a big one, so I want to make sure that we can really put our time in. Not only is it a big one, it's really small writing and it's got a lot of subtext. So awesome stuff. Let's get started. For you, those of you that are new, like Ralph is here, this is an interactive. So I'm just going to go chapter by chapter. I'm going to go over the slides, go over some of the main points, and then this is an interactive. Let's talk about it. How does this affect our lives? How can we implement this into our life and into our business? All right, welcome to the Leveling Up Book Club. A few reminders before we get started. We're going to be here every Friday, 10 a.m. Arizona time. Don't forget that. I know a lot of people get messed up because we just had a time change. So we may be missing a couple of people because of that. Have a copy of the book during the discussion if possible. We're going to be live here on Zoom. I chose Zoom so you guys can be right here with me. Thoughts and insights are encouraged inside the group. Please show up. Please do the work. No distractions. When you're here, stay here and keep an open mind so you can grow. Book of the month is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. So the 48 Laws, about this book references significant events over the last 3,000 years and uses them as the basis for each law. Every law, though, has one thing in common: an interest in total domination. That's what we're here for, guys and gals. The 48 Laws is ideal whether your aim is to conquest, self-defense, or simply to understand the rules of the game. The best-selling book for those who want power, watch power, or want to arm themselves against power. Why are the 48 Laws of Power so important? We are constantly embroiled in the struggles for power and influence. We are small business owners, guys, so this hits us more than anything else. Lots of struggles for power and influence, especially in this new world. Influence is huge. At many levels: personal, professional, political. I think we're all experiencing that right now. On many time frames, hours, years, centuries, in which we become either players or pieces. Players win the struggle and make things happen their way, while pieces lose the struggle and have things happen to them. You cannot opt out of the game. You only choose which role you will play. I know what roles you guys are playing. I know what role I'm playing. So let's get going. Law 1, never outshine the master. So I don't know about you, but when I started reading this, guys, I was like, really? On a couple of these things. I think a lot of it goes against traditional thinking. So this was one of the very first ones, right? So never outshine the master. Always make those above you feel comfortably superior. In your desire to please and impress them, do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite: inspire fear and insecurity. We don't want to do that. So make your masters appear more brilliant than they are, and you will attain the heights of power. Keys to master. Everyone has insecurities. When you show yourself in the world and display your talents, you naturally stir up all the kinds of resentment, envy, and other manifestations of insecurity. Everybody's insecure. Some of us mask it better. While you cannot spend your life worrying about the petty feelings of others, with those above you, you must take a different approach. It is a deadly but common misconception to believe that by displaying and vaunting your gifts and talents, you are winning the master's affection. He may feign appreciation, but at first opportunity, he's going to replace you with someone less intelligent, less attractive, and threatening. So, JT, watch out for those looks, buddy. There are 2 rules you must realize. You can inadvertently outshine a master simply by being yourself. You may not even realize it, right? Just being your natural self. There are masters who are more insecure than others, and you may naturally outshine them by your charm and grace. So now it's just something to be aware of, right? Turn this law to your advantage by flattening and puffing up your master. Use discreet flattery. If your ideas are more creative than your master's, ascribe them to him in a public as a manner as possible. It is not a weakness to disguise your strengths if at the end of the day they lead to power. By letting others outshine you, you remain in control. Instead of being a victim to their insecurity. And then the reversal, you cannot worry about upsetting every person you come across, but you must be selectively cruel. Interesting one, right? If your superior is a falling star, there's nothing to fear from outshining him. Outdo, outcharm, and outsmart him at key moments. Thoughts, ideas. What do you guys think about this one? Has anybody experienced this?
Yes.
What do you got, Ralph?
When I first started in wholesaling, I had a guy that I was acquisitions with his company. And, you know, I naturally was a salesman. I had a dog training company before that. So I was good at conversions. Mm-hmm. But, and very, I would say charismatic in the sense that I worked well with everybody on the team, but he didn't. And I mean, I got fired from that job. You know, he brought in someone that was more of a soldier, you know, than an entrepreneurially minded individual, even though I was loyal. And so when you were saying that, I was like, yes, 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 and yes, like that makes sense. That exact thing happened to me.
So how do you think you would have handled it differently? I mean, was it a good thing that you ended up getting fired? I mean, usually it is, but what would you have done differently knowing this law of power? Or what do you do differently?
Well, now, so what I would have done differently, because then I kind of showboated in the sense of like, you know, I know like there's some common sense things that should be happening that aren't happening. I would have pitched more as, you know, hey, have you ever, you know, maybe you could think about this, and then let him kind of go, yeah, you know, that's good. And then it would have, you know, he would have owned it, and that's fine. I mean, success is success. But he would have felt a lot less insecure about that interaction, because it would have came off as his idea. So that would have been a little play of describing the you know, the idea versus saying this is the better idea
100%.
In a public manner, in our team meetings.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of times it just takes them to make it their idea. You know what I mean? You can just beat it. But once they see it, they're like, oh, you know what? How about this? Like, brilliant.
That's a great idea.
Right. So when I was reading this, one of the things I was kind of thinking about, it's like, well, I don't have a boss. I don't have a master, right? Who are the masters in our world? If you're the boss, if you're the CEO, who is the master in your boss? Who do we need to use these tools with? Does anybody have any ideas on that? JT?
I had an idea of like using them on yourself sometimes. Like if you have control in everything that you do, you see this with a lot of big CEOs or really busy people in general, that they want to let go of the reins, but they can't. They're so used to the habit of controlling everything. So sometimes it's use this on our own ego. You know what I mean? And like being able to let loose and let some other people shine, in my opinion. Sometimes we just used to doing everything ourselves, you know, on the come up, until you expand and use leverage with other people. Sometimes you got to let go of the reins. And sometimes that's real hard to do for some people, just on pure ego.
100%, man. Good point. Good point. So it seemed to me like maybe in some of these circumstances, maybe our customer is our master, right? Like sometimes if you're working in the creative space, like for example, if we're designing a house for someone, I may know 10 times what my client knows, but you know, it's their house. We still want them to be heard. So I guess even though I own my own business, whenever I'm working with somebody else who's going to pay me money, they're kind of my master. They're kind of my boss in a sense. So maybe, you know, I think this would work really well in that scenario, you know, having humility and, you know, praising their ideas, making them feel like
Your
you know,
title company, how about that one? You know what I mean? That could be a good one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of vendors and people in our lives that where we need to, you know, you don't want, yeah, we work with a couple trades people, and it's like they, you know, they're not, we got to toe the line between screaming at them because they're not doing what they said they're going to do, and you know, making it work because maybe they're our only source. You know, maybe we have a really hard time finding, you know, this type of person. So definitely got to walk that thin line. As a project manager working with contractors, like I walk that line.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Like, you know how many times I just wanted to fire people, but I'm not in the position. So
You're like, you're so good at what you do if you would just do it on time, right?
right. Okay. Any other thoughts on this first law? Cool. Let's move on. Law 2, never put too much trust in your friends. Learn how to use enemies. Be wary of friends. They will betray you more quickly, for they will betray you more. Wait. They will betray you more quickly, for they will betray you. I think that's a mistype. They are easily aroused to envy. I know, I'm sure you guys all have friends that are just like this. They see when they see your success. They also become spoiled and tyrannical. But hire a former enemy and he will be more loyal than a friend because he has more to prove. In fact, you have more to fear from friends than from enemies. If you have no enemies, find a way to make some enemies. Don't be so nice. He's the master. It's natural to want to employ your friends when you find yourself in times of need. The world is a harsh place, and your friends soften that harshness. Since honesty rarely strengthens friendship, you may never know how a friend truly feels. Let me repeat that. Since honesty rarely strengthens friendship, you may never know how a friend truly feels. So a friend is more apt to lie to you to keep that friendship. That's big. The receipt in favor can become oppressive. It means you have been chosen because you are a friend, not because you are deserving. Your enemies are an untapped gold mine that you must learn to exploit. Lincoln said, you destroy an enemy when you make a friend of him. Without enemies around us, we grow lazy. An enemy at our heels sharpens our wits, keeps us focused and alert. The man of power welcomes conflict, using enemies to enhance his reputation as a sure-footed fighter who can be relied upon in times of uncertainty. The reversal. There are times when a friend can be used to greater effect than an enemy. Okay, so there's always two sides to every coin, right? So a man of power often has dirty work that has to be done, but for the sake of appearances, it is generally preferred to have other people do it for him. Friends often do this the best. I love this. Since their affection for him makes them willing to take chances. If your plans go awry for some reason, you can use a friend as a convenient scapegoat. Okay. Who's hired a friend before? Guilty. Who
Guilty.
still has that friend? Who still has that friend working for them? Oh. Yes, let's talk about it. Who's got experience in this? So I'll talk. So in my construction company, I had a few guys who they just needed work. They were my buddies, and I brought them on. I trained them, and they fucked me just like everybody else will fuck you, man, just as much. Like at the end of it, it was a couple years down the road because they were, you know, they were very grateful at the beginning. But eventually I just became their boss, and it was a shitty job, a construction job in the Arizona sun that they didn't like. And so they cheated me on hours. Like I had to fire them all. It sucked. And they took advantage of me more than an enemy would have. They're still my friends. Like we ended okay, but it's like, it tainted things to say the least.
Yeah.
Ralph, you work with a friend before?
I did. I've a couple times, and even this last flip, it ended where we parted ways. You know, my thought process is, you know, even if we're friends, we got a collective goal, right, to get to this finish line. But at the same time, we're still operating a business, so those expectations still have to be met. And that's where the line got blurred when I learned this phrase gaslighting, you know, recently, and I'm around like, you gaslight me, you're gaslighting me. And friends will do that when you go, hey, you're not doing like what you're expected to do. And here's these moments where you completely drop the ball, where if I was just a boss and we weren't friends, you wouldn't be able to just come back and say, well, I didn't, you know, that's not fair. And here's the personal things I know about you that, you know, you're not wanting to do this, or you're spending time with your daughter. And it's like, that doesn't matter, right? Like, it's the freaking job. This is what you're supposed to do. So it ended, you know, both cases working with friends, it ended where, let's agree to disagree. You go your way, we'll end this. And the friendship ended as well, because it was at that point for me, it's like, I cut it, I'm moving on, you know? So yeah, I did. Friends, can't do it.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Now, I became business partners with one of my friends. BP is, well, really, I mean, JD, I was a lot closer with BP on this other business. You know, I knew him a lot longer than I've known JD, but we're equals. And I think a big part of it is we're not afraid. We don't care about hurting each other's feelings. You know, we're going to call somebody out because we both understand it's business. Like, friendship's definitely on the back burner. You know what I mean? And then what do you think about, I mean, you want to be friendly with your people, right? So you may not hire friends, but you may become friends. So how do we keep that line? Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Hey, my answer to everything, man, communication. If you're open and upfront in the beginning, or when things are hard, it makes those conversations so much easier on the back end. And a lot of times, that's just one of those lessons you can't learn unless you go through it. in my opinion, I mean, I've worked with many of friends, and some are good, some are bad. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's my fault, sometimes it's their fault. But at the end of the day, if somebody's like that close to me, I'd rather keep that separate. It's just easier, unless you're both open and honest and willing to, you know, make those get call out. You know, we call it being accountable. Like, hey, can I take a second? Will you be accountable, or hold me accountable with this or that? And that way it's not just out of the blue, like you think you guys are on the same mindset, and then something out of the blue you blow up on your, you know, buddy about, like, hey, you should already know this. Well, they might be thinking about something else.
But I think that working with somebody and then becoming friends, you're becoming friends most likely if you start out working with them, because you can see some similarities in your work ethics and say, we gel together, we get stuff done.
100%.
And then absolutely what you said, JT, like having those expectations, having that open communication, and what works so well with BP and Chris, because it does, I've seen them together, it does work well, is because, yeah, there's no F given when it comes to business with them and feeling. And if that's understood on the front end, which if it starts out as business, it should be, then that friendship will flourish in the back end because of those similarities in thought process.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Lastly, my last point on this, what happens when that friend is actually family?
Oh, it's even, I don't work with family, bro. I can't do it. Like, we all, like, my family, I come from like a very big ego family. Like, we're tight at an arm's length away.
I tried to bring the family together once. We didn't make it through the first Zoom call. I was like, nah. I said, I don't know what I was thinking. This ain't gonna work.
You can change as much as you want in your life, and everybody will see that same person in your family.
Yeah, right. You're always that little kid. You're always
right?
that, you know, you're always what you were when you were 10.
Right.
Ty, did you want to chime in on this? If not, no big deal. I thought I saw you on
I haven't had good experiences hiring people. I'm struggling doing it and trying to get good help. Seems like everyone wants the paycheck, but they don't want to do the work. But I've never tried to hire friends or family. But I do have a question for you, Kris. Like, have you done any investments with family? How's that worked out in this kind of arena?
Yes, so that's another thing. It's just not, even when it goes good, it doesn't really go good. Because especially with real estate, just things happen and nothing's perfect. So I've done deals with my parents, plenty, and we've made money. It's been fine, but it's better when we keep it separate. So like, I found a great duplex and I just said, Mom, go buy this. I found a great triplex, which by the way, she just made $250,000 profit on. Good son.
Merry Christmas.
Just go buy it, let her just do it herself, because, just mixing it, it can complicate things and it's not ideal.
Appreciate
Yes,
it.
for sure. My sister was my assistant for a few years or about a year, and that worked really well. She left just because it was we had it set, you're going to work for me from this time to this time. This is what we're going to do. And then it worked out, but yeah, not ideal. What I cut you off, Ty. What were you saying?
No, I just said I appreciate you sharing that, because I was just wondering the dynamics with, when it comes to money and family, and then so we're talking about employee, being an employee, but then there's still money involved. So it seems like when there's money involved, it could be, I don't know. It's weird, because you think it should work out every time, but it just doesn't.
Right. Money just messes up things. And just as I know that's not on this chapter or whatever, but on a side note, always pay your employees on time. Nothing will create more dissension, more distrust, more problems than not keeping your word with their pay, like that day. So, all righty, let's move on. Law 3, conceal your intentions. Keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. If they have no clue what you're up to, they cannot prepare a defense. Guide them far enough down the wrong path, envelope them in enough smoke, and by the time you realize they realize your intentions, it's too late. Part 1, use decoyed objects of desire and red herrings to throw people off the scent. So this is the first chapter where I'm like, all right, this guy's not fucking around. This is about power. This is a power play. Keys to power. Most people are open books. They say what they feel. They blurt out their opinion at every opportunity and constantly reveal their plans and intentions. It is easy and natural to always want to talk about one's feelings and plans in the future, but it takes effort to control your tongue and monitor what you reveal. Oh man, this hits home. By making yourself so predictable and familiar, it becomes almost impossible to respect or fear you. And power will not accrue to a person who cannot inspire such emotions. It is important to not go too far in this arena. Appear overpassionate and you raise suspicions. Be measured and believable, and your ruse will seem to put on that it is. Part 2, use smoke screens to disguise your actions. Keys to power. The best deceivers use a bland and inconspicuous front that calls no attention to themselves. They know that extravagant words and gestures immediately raise suspicion. The simplest form of smokescreen is facial expression. One of the most effective smokescreen is the notable gesture. People want to believe noble gestures are genuine, for the belief is pleasant. Another effective smokescreen is the pattern, the establishment of a series of actions that seduce the victim into believing you will continue in the same way. The reverse of that. No smokescreen or red herring will succeed in concealing your intention if you already have an established reputation for deception. In such cases, it's better to own up, appear to be honest, the honest rogue or repentant rogue. Although it is wiser to divert attention from your purposes by presenting a bland exterior, there are times when the colorful, conspicuous gesture is the right to diversity tactic. Thoughts?
It's kind of like the first, when you open up the first chapter, it's like, what?
Right. Yeah, this one was awesome for me. What do you guys think about this one? Specifically, so keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. If they have no clue what they're up to, they cannot prepare a defense. Thoughts on that? I mean, so we all have competitive juices, right? Where in our business do you use this law?
I think we do this with our customers all the time, if we're open and honest. I mean, maybe not all the time, but on certain situations with things, you know what I mean? Because we might have dealt with a situation before. Like I'm thinking about, like maybe with one of my buyers, I know he's gonna hack me down on the price, like 10%, like every time, like clockwork. But he does his job. He writes the check. You know what I mean? So I always have that cushion built in, and I know what he's doing. He knows, where I'm coming at. I always let him know where I'm at, and I just set a precedence like, all right, cool, I have this built in, so here's your price. You know what I mean? Or when I'm buying somebody's house and they have that over, thought process about their property, even though they haven't updated it in like 13 years, and they're looking at the Zillow price. So I'm like, all right, well, I never knocked them down, cut them down to the knees, like, oh, you need to do this, this, and this. It's just more like, all right, cool. Well, let me see. Well, I think the average price is going at this per square foot. Let's match that up to what you think, and let me show you what my costs are. And usually, like, that's a really easy, low way of getting the price that I want to buy that property at, or I need to buy that property at. And if not, it's okay. I'm trying to buy houses from people who want to sell houses.
Right. Yeah. So negotiations. This is a huge law for negotiations. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it also works with the people you're working with too. If you have, I was talking to the guy that was in the car. He was telling me a story of he brought this person on. She was doing like transactional stuff for him, but he just poured, and she got to a point she was like, well, I know everything. I don't need you anymore. And he's like, well, I needed you to do this, but now she's off doing her thing, which is great for her. But at the same time, it kind of left him in a pickle. So I think, it's kind of one of those things too, that if you're looking to scale your business, it's also knowing that maybe I'm not overloading you with everything from the beginning, right? Like this is the role you're doing. This is the role I need you to do. But I'm not just dumping the whole playbook on the growth, the scalability, the scale plan, everything else, to where you're just like, well, I'm gonna go do this on my own. I'm gonna go over here because now I got the playbook. I don't know.
It's happened to me so many times.
Which is not a mentality of scarcity, but it's like you said at the beginning, Chris. You said, what did you say? Something about the competitive or comparable skills, or you said something.
Competitive nature, yeah. Of sales.
Yeah, the competitive of sales, right? And so you're looking. There's an angle that you have to hit your metrics, but if you're out there just all your intentions, all your plays, all your skill sets, all your stuff, you're gonna run into that. So I could see that being a keeping the cards close to the chest kind of thing too, strategically.
This can be a difficult thing to do on social media. I mean, because for me, whenever we're posting stuff that we're doing, people tend to, I don't know, put it on a pedestal, almost not a pedestal, but for example, it was a few years back. I'm always posting our rehabs and stuff like this. This is what we got going on. But at this particular time in my life, like, we were really tight on money. Like, I was stressed. I wasn't sleeping. And I had 3 people in 1 week be like, oh, what's up, Chris? Oh man, you're killing it. You're doing so great, blah, blah, blah. And, I'm like, oh, thanks, man. But in my mind, I'm like, dude, this guy doesn't know shit. I'm struggling. So we're always putting on a great face on Facebook. So I mean, I think people may interpret what we say and kind of run with it. So, but yeah, you definitely don't want to reveal everything. You got to hold something. All right, we're gonna move forward because we're spending a lot of time, and I don't want to take your whole morning. All right, law 4, always say less than necessary. Oh, another great negotiating law, right? So when you're trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear and the less in control. Even though you are saying something banal, or how do you guys say it? Banal? Banal. It will seem original if you make it vague, open-ended, and sphinx-like. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. Keys to power. Your silence will make other people uncomfortable. Humans are machines of interpretation and explanation. They have to know what you are thinking. When you carefully control what you reveal, they cannot pierce your intentions or meaning. The less you say, the more profound and mysterious you appear. Andy Warhol realized that it is impossible to get people to do what you wanted them to do by talking to them. The less you say, the less risk you run of saying something foolish or dangerous. When words are out, you cannot take them back. Keep them under control. Be careful with sarcasm. The momentary satisfaction you gain with biting words will outweigh the price you pay. And then the reverse of it, there's times when it's unwise to be silent. Silence can arouse suspicion and insecurity, especially in your superiors. And words can sometimes act as a kind of a smokescreen for your deception. By bending your listener's ear with talk, you can distract and mesmerize them. The more you talk, the less suspicious they may become to you. All right, thoughts on this one? Who's talked themselves out of a deal? I know I have. Because you just keep talking.
Oh yeah.
Shut up, right? Say it, put out a number, and shut up if you're putting out a number. Yes. Who uses this to their advantage? Ralph, tell us about it.
Well, I had actually, I think, bought like a $60 video series, right, on wholesaling. I think just one day it was like, $6, let's check it out. And there was one section in there that I knew it, but it all it said was shut up. It was talked about being quiet. So the very next appointment I had, I used that. I put the number out and I just shut up. And it was uncomfortable. It was probably the most uncomfortable moment that we've ever had. But he dropped down to that. He dropped down to the price. He was talking. You could see him working it through in his head, and it was uncomfortable. You could tell he wanted me to say something, and he didn't. He said, "Okay, I'll do it." So right. Yeah, that's using that.
Something that's really worked for me in the past with negotiating is because you always want to try to get them to say the number. So you're going to talk about, oh, it needs this, it needs that. So I've done it to where they say the number and I just sit there and think about it, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. They literally negotiate themselves down. Right? Have you guys ever experienced this?
I love seeing that in person.
Yes. And then just keep quiet, and then maybe, so they'll say a lower number, and then you just say that number and shut up. And they're like, well, I could probably do this, right? And not just for houses, for everything in life. You're down at the flea market negotiating. I mean, those people are the worst. They'll give it away if you shut up long enough.
I did that with perfume, with cologne.
Justin, feel free to chime in if you can. If you can't, no big deal. All right. Anybody have anything else on this one? That strong, silent type. People like them. Nobody likes a jabbermouth. All right, here we go. All right, law 5. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Reputation is the cornerstone of power. Through reputation alone, you can intimidate and win. Once it slips, however, you are vulnerable and will be attacked on all sides. Make your reputation unassailable. Always be alert when potential attacks and thwart them before they happen. Meanwhile, learn to destroy your enemies by opening holes in their reputations. Then stand aside and let public opinions hang them. Keys to power. Reputation will protect you in the dangerous game of appearances, distracting the probing eyes of others from knowing what you are really like and giving you a degree of control, however, over how the world judges you, a powerful position to be in. Whether the same exact deeds appear brilliant or dreadful can depend entirely on the reputation of the doer. In the beginning, you must work to establish a reputation for one outstanding quality, whether generosity, honesty, or cunning. Quality sets you apart and gets other people to talk about you. You then make the reputation known to as many people as possible. A solid reputation increases your presence and exaggerates your strength without you having to spend much energy. It can also create an aura around you that will instill respect or fear. Make your reputation simple and base it on one sterling quality. Reputation is a treasure to be carefully collected and hoarded. When you're first establishing it, you must protect it strictly, anticipating all attacks on it. Take the high road and never appear desperate in your self-defense. An attack on another man's reputation is a potent weapon, especially when you have lesser power than him. He has much more to lose in such a battle. However, practice this tactic with skill. You must not seem to engage in petty vengeance. If you do not break your enemy's reputation cleverly, you will inadvertently ruin your own. The reversal, there is no possible reversal. Reputation is critical. There is no exception to this law. Reputation, let's talk about it. Let's see, somebody left a chat. Let me check the chat. Oh, Maya needs to be the co-host. You got it. There you go, Maya. Oh, I can add this. Okay. Reputation. What do you guys think about this one?
I think it's challenging, Chris, because it puts the light on you, or it put the light back on me, thinking like, hey, what is my reputation?
Yeah, it's hard to like create. I mean, we don't think about our reputation when we first start out, right? So we are just who we are. So we kind of get our own reputation by just doing what we do. But, you know, knowing, being conscious of this and deliberately creating your reputation is, you know, that's what we want to accomplish, right?
I heard a wise person say, if you don't create one, somebody else will create one for you.
I like it. I like that one. So reputation, getting business, right? For those of you that are like real estate agents, if you if you have somebody propping you up and be like, you know, Pat's the best realtor you can ever have, you know, he did this for us, this for us, this for us. When you go to that, you don't even have to win. You don't have to convince them, like you're in. So, you know, having that reputation is just vital, especially for growing your business like that. Does anybody have any experience where their reputation has hurt or helped them get business?
My dog training business, I shut it down. I stopped training, but I mean, it was all word of mouth. You know, it was all referral based. And I actually had someone get on my Facebook and leave a bad review. I mean, it was like seething, and I'm going, whoa. And my response publicly, because it had to be publicly, because that would hurt the reputation of my company, was, you know, just to kind of rebut it and then give a clear response to the interactions that we had, and then also say that the lessons are still there if you ever want to, you know, pick them up. And so it didn't hurt my business, but I had to be very conscious of if I don't respond to that in a smart way, so I can't just respond like, "Oh, you're a liar." You know, I have to respond in a very professional way in a public manner to salvage or at least to lessen that impact on the company, the brand reputation, because that was money that would have been lost. So that's my personal experience with that.
That's such a good point, man. I mean, reviews are the new reputation out there, right? Everything is public. How many of you would eat at a restaurant if it had 3.8 stars? Not me, you know, because there's so many that are 4.2, 4.4. So reputation is always out there. So that's something that you can get ahead of. So if you know that people are going to find out what your reputation is based on what other people say in public on a rating, maybe Yelp or Google. I mean, everybody should have their own Google contact, and then send all your people that love you messages to go give you a 5-star review. Give me a 5-star, give me a 5-star. And now, even if there are some bad ones, so that happened to us. We had an apartment. We have an apartment down in Bisbee, and we had one person who they didn't even live there, and they just put this crazy 1-star review. I think they didn't like our manager or some shit. And so we had a 1-star review on our apartment. So we just had all these people go and put a 5-star, and now that 1-star is kind of buried. So there's that. But I will say you have to have great customer service, because when you're searching places, when you're looking at reviews, no matter where it's at, who reads the bad reviews instead of the good reviews? Does anybody else do that? I know I do. I always want to see the 1-stars. I don't give a shit about the 5-stars. The 5-stars don't tell me anything. Why did they have a bad experience? And normally it's a petty thing, and I'm like, this guy's an idiot, right? But you want to know that. Anybody else have that?
Yeah, I always look. I mean, even like on Amazon and stuff, I look for reviews when ordering things, and also like people don't, the people that have good experiences, like you said, like you gotta ask them to leave 5 stars, because they don't leave reviews. That everything's fine.
Yep. So it's so easy. It's a thing that is so easy to not do. I mean, really, we should all be automating this inside of our business. We need to be asking them every time you complete something good. Hey, would you give us a 5-star review? And ask for a 5-star review. Most people don't say why, but if they say why, it's say because a 4-star hurts us. 4 stars considered not a good job, so only 5 stars. It really helps.
All the Uber, the Ubers, we use Uber a lot. They're always asking for the review.
A 5-star will kill them. So I had a guy on Fiverr, and he did an okay job, and I gave him 4 stars. Dude, that guy was hounding me. Please change your review, sir. And by that point, I'm like, yeah, I'm not changing shit, because you get what you get. You're a 4-star, you're not a 5-star. So if he was cool about it, I might have changed it, but he was really annoying. So yeah, those reviews are big. All right. Anybody else got anything on that, or should we move on to the next law?
Let's hit the next one.
All right. Law 6, court attention at all costs. Everything is judged by its appearance. What is unseen counts for nothing. Never let yourself get lost in the crowd, or buried in oblivion. Stand out. Be conspicuous at all costs. Make yourself a magnet of attention by appearing larger, more colorful, more mysterious than the bland and timid masses. Number 1, surround your name with the sensational and the scandalous. Right? How many people have blown up because they tied themselves to one of these social media stars? Attracting attention is a skill no one is born with. You have to learn. At the start of your career, you must attach your name and reputation to a quality, an image that sets you apart from other people. To avoid being a flash in the pan, you must not discriminate against different types of attention. In the end, every kind will work in your favor. Every kind. That's what they say, right? No news is bad, or Any news is good news. No news is bad news. If you find yourself in a lowly position that offers little opportunity for you to draw attention, an effective trick is to attack the most visible, most famous, most powerful person you can find. Once in the limelight, you must constantly renew it by adapting and varying your method of courting attention. If you don't, the public will grow tired of you, take you for granted, and move on to a new star. Part 2, create an air of mystery. The mysterious invites layers of interpretation, excites our imagination, and seduces us into believing that it conceals something marvelous. Just like that Facebook we were talking about before, right? They see a few things and they're like, oh, they make the story, they paint the story. Do not imagine that to create an air of mystery, you have to be grand and awe-inspiring. Mystery is that is woven into your day-to-day demeanor and is subtle. It has much more power to fascinate and attract attention. Mysterious people put others in a kind of inferior position, that of trying to figure them out. If you find yourself trapped, cornered, and on the defensive in some situation, try a simple experiment. Do something that cannot be easily explained or interpreted. Reverse it. In the beginning of your rise to the top, you must attract attention at all costs. As you rise higher, you must constantly adapt. Never wear the public out with the same tactic. Do not let your air of mystery become a reputation of deceit. Lastly, never appear overly greedy for attention, for it signals insecurity, and insecurity drives power away. Understand that there are times when it's not in your interest to be the center of attention. Thoughts? This was a very interesting one. I like this one. Because in Law 5 or Law 4, it talked about how you kind of want to, you know, keep a straight face, or you know, you guys know what I'm saying. But now it's like
Poker face.
to have that attention. Yeah, there you go, poker face. And now we're talking about courting attention at all costs. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's timing, Chris. I don't think it's like all at the same time, right? Like these are certain times that you're using each one of these tools to benefit specifically the law of power.
I think this is what makes our president, our current president, very, I mean, he's polarizing. People love him or people hate him, but he's always doing something to garner attention. I mean, look how many followers, look how many people pay attention to him. People that hate him follow him more than people that love him sometimes. Like that's
true, very true.
Amazing. So
And this poker face is on point.
He mastered the rule of getting more haters.
Right. And you know, I think he's a great example just because he does this so well. You know, he'll say some outlandish stuff, but it gets attention. It gets attention. People are talking about it. You know what I mean? He's always the one, right? And you see this a lot of with superstars and social media stars and you know, people who are always trying to stay in the limelight. I mean, because if you guys watch Hollywood, you know that fame goes away quickly. You know, you'll watch a movie from the 90s, you'll be like, what happened to that guy? It's like he's in 4 movies, out forever. So
yeah, look
Well,
at the top.
I think that. Go ahead.
Ralph
Oh,
and JT.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I think you see the example of this a lot in the entertainment industry, because especially even like the not talking as, you know, as much and things like that, because you know, you'll in the poker face, you'll see somebody drop something in an interview and it'd be 3 words, it'd be a sentence about somebody, and it's just everyone's going crazy. But if you look at the fit, there's no response, there's no hate in the voice. It's just, yeah, I said it, poker face on. You know, and now the attention's on them. And next thing you know, the news is out, the interviews are out, and people want to know what you said about that. And now you're the center of attention. So both ways. I don't know how that would work in the real estate industry, but you can see it in the entertainment industry for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's where it works the best, I would say. You know, that's where it's most effective.
Yeah.
JT, what were you gonna say?
Oh man, I lost my train of thought thinking about that. Oh wait. I was gonna say that we can see this mastered by all public figures. You know what I mean? Like the guys that are doing big in either their company. Like if we just talk about business, a lot of look at the stocks right now. A lot of these companies are getting like their third quarter numbers. So you see a lot of posturing. You know, before that stock goes live, that CEO might say something to get some attention, or do something like a week before their numbers hit to spark that, you know, that interest. I mean, it's all marketing and branding at the end of the day, you know. It's just some people take it too seriously,
Right.
in my opinion.
Good point. All right, let's move on. Law 7, get others to do the work, but always take the credit. I don't know how I feel about this one. We'll talk about it at the end. So use the wisdom, knowledge, and legwork of other people to further your own cause. Not only will such assistance save you valuable time and energy, it will give you a godlike aura of efficiency and speed. In the end, your helpers will be forgotten and you will be remembered. Never do yourself what others can do for you. Never do yourself what others can do for you. Keys to power. The world of power has dynamics of the jungle. There are those that live by hunting and killing, and there are also vast numbers of creatures who live off the hunting of others, like hyenas and vultures. Do not be naive at this moment. While you are slaving away on some project, there are vultures circling above you, trying to figure out a way to survive and thrive off your creativity. It is useless to complain about this or wear yourself ragged with bitterness. Better to protect yourself and join the game. Once you have established a power base, become a vulture yourself and save yourself time and energy. Learn to get others to do the work for you while you take the credit and you appear to be godlike strength and power. If you think it's important to do all the work yourself, you will never get far. Find people with the skills and creativity you lack, either hire them while putting your own name on top of theirs, or find a way to take their work and make it your own. Otto von Bismarck once said, "Fools say that they learn by experience. I prefer to profit by others' experience." I love that one. Reverse it though. If your power is not firmly enough established, you will seem to be pushing people out of the limelight. To be a brilliant exploiter of talent, your position must be unshakable, or you will be accused of deception. Be sure you know when letting other people share the credit serves your purpose. Be sure you know when letting other people share the credit serves your purpose. It is especially important not to be greedy when you have a master above you. Do you guys agree with this?
Yeah.
Not those exact words.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
half of it. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think what they're, at least how we interpret it, like we can take half and say, okay, I think this is what they're trying to say, and utilize it from that perspective of utilizing other people and building a team, but also propping yourself up in this, I guess in our realm in real estate, propping yourself up in social media, even though you know you have a team behind you, because from that perspective, everybody benefits. Whereas versus just saying, okay, this person over here did all the work, but I'm taking all the glory. I think we typically do it in a different light, most of us anyway, where we'll sit there. Sometimes we're tagging our team, but even though we're tagging the team, it's coming from us. So it looks as if this is something we're doing and we're doing alone, even though we all know we're not. It's one of those things that goes on, like it's better gone unsaid. So right. I think we handle it from that perspective. Yes. But to I guess to come in and just blatantly say like this is all me and nobody else, and like you guys are peons, kind of behind the scenes type of thing, I don't think that's the best way to go about it. Like you're not gonna get very far in this world being that way towards others.
100%. Anybody else got something on this? So for me, I mean, I think it's very important to acknowledge people who do great work for you, you know, acknowledging your team. But yeah, I think Don was kind of on point with that. you still want to go present, look what we did. And it is you're the face. But yeah, definitely, say, hey, I have a great team. It was great teamwork. Other people had, even though they may not be getting this specific person is getting, being held up. But yeah, and then maybe that's something to where within the team, that's where you're really giving them kudos. You're really, thanking them and giving them credit for doing a great job. But then, when you're going out in public and showing it to everybody, hey, this is what we did. Any other thoughts on this one?
I did have one question for you guys on the previous one. Like, how do you go mentally, I guess, the guys that are out there doing it, pushing the stuff on social media, like when it is like without being mundane and posting the same stuff, or even if you get to a point where you're tired of like quote unquote being in a line, like I know we all kind of go through this. So I'm curious to see like, how do you guys typically deal with that where either you're reinventing yourself or continuing to pump out content even when you don't feel like it?
I have thoughts on this. Anybody else want to chime in? So for me, I try to hold stuff back. You know what I mean? You can do a post with, like, let's just say a new house. We built a new house. I could do a post and say, look at the bathroom, look at this, look at the kitchen, look at this, boom, we did a fireplace, look at this stonework. And you're almost like shooting your whole load all at once, right? So holding it back and, and then just piecing it out helps kind of spread it out. And now the one project turned into, 20 posts. And we can do that a lot because within the construction phase, I'm doing a photo of some, them pouring the concrete and then they're framing and then we're doing this, then we're doing that. It's the same house, but they're seeing posts, week after week after week. So they're just like, shit, this guy's busy. So that's for me. And then secondly, sometimes you just need to schedule. I'm not great with being consistent with my posting. Before Maya would help me and we would schedule posts and stuff, but a lot of the software we were using, Instagram kind of kicks them off and, they don't let you use that kind of stuff. So I've struggled with that, but yeah, I mean, pre-planning is definitely a great way to do that.
That's what you see a lot of people, especially the bigger accounts. I mean, they're sitting down and recording their content over the course of a day and breaking it up into like, snippets, like you said, and then scheduling it to be dumped out. So they're not really doing it every single day like that. I mean, they're recording content for a couple weeks or a month out, 2 months out.
Yeah. And then I guess another great way is to do large content and then break it down. So, I mean, it doesn't really relate directly to us, but there's this guy I like to watch on YouTube and Periscope. He's a 49ers guy, they talk. So he gets on with 3 or 4 other guys on a Zoom like this, and they go over just thing. So it's an hour and a half content, but then throughout the week, now he's posting 8 to 12 YouTube videos. And so now, I mean, he's got so much content. It's all off one, and he just broke it up. Each topic is its own video. So maybe think of it that way. How can you do the whole thing, capture it, and then break it down?
I think lifestyle is important too. Like it's not always just pushing work. Just your lifestyle and your family. That's important too.
Oh, that's huge. One of my lenders, one of my biggest lenders. So everybody's always watching. That's the one thing to know. Even if you'll go to somebody's page and like they don't post anything, but they're on and they're watching. I had one guy was watching me because we had a conversation probably 2 years before he took action, and he never posts, but he was watching me. And then one day I was at one of my flips and I'd make my kids when I used to be on projects, I would always take my kids and I'd make them sweep and clean and shit. And I took pictures and I posted it. That's what triggered him. It wasn't the beautiful kitchen. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. It's, wow, this guy's just like me. He's got kids. He wants his kids to have a work ethic just like I do. I want to work with this guy. And so you never know. So absolutely be yourself, be authentic, because we're people and people want to work with good people. So
100%. Always be authentic in my book. I mean, there's definitely times that you can tone it down. Like I can be very loud, you know me, Chris. But it's also like, you know, there's times when, like, I mean, the beginning of the book was talking about just shutting the fuck up is sometimes the most important thing. So being open and honest is a good credit, and I live myself on that quality. But at the same time, I don't have to be, you know, the center of attention or have to give them 100% truth. You know, when sometimes they might be looking for a little compassion or understanding or just somebody to listen to. But I think that's where mastery comes in, is learning when to do that, when to be your full self.
Absolutely, yeah. Matt, that's the mastery part of it, right? I mean, it's a work in progress. And that's the great thing about what we're doing here is we're learning this, and now we're cognizant of it. Now we're aware of it. So now it's up to us. And we have the knowledge now. With these first 8 laws, when we're done today, we have this knowledge. So now it's up to us to implement it. So let's finish up with law 8. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. When you force the other person to act, you are the one in control. It's always better to make your opponent come to you, abandoning his own plans in the process. Lure him with fabulous gains, then attack. You hold the cards. Keys to power. Aggressive action is not effective action. Most often, and the most effective action is to stay back, keep calm, and let others be frustrated by the traps you lay for them. The essence of power is the ability to keep the initiative and to get others to react to your moves, to keep your opponent and those around you on the defensive. When you make other people come to you, you suddenly become the one controlling the situation. When you make your opponent come to you, you create the illusion that he is in control in the situation. He does not feel like he does not feel the strings that pull him. Everything depends on the sweetness of your bait. If your trap is attractive enough, the turbulence of your enemy's emotions and desires will blind them to reality. The greedier they become, the more they can be led around. Reversal. There are opposite cases when striking suddenly and aggressively at the enemy demoralizes them. Fast attack can be an awesome weapon, for it forces the other person to react without the time to think or plan. With no time to think, people make errors in judgment and are thrown on the defensive. Thoughts on this last law? Make other people come to you and use bait if necessary.
That's the pendulum of negotiation. Yeah.
What's that? Go ahead, Ralph, and then JT.
So that's the pendulum of negotiation. That's leaning away from the table, right? I want it to, you know. I mean, I think about picking it up, but I mean, I just don't know, right? Now they're the ones wanting to sell it to you, want to sell it to you.
Right. JT, what do you got?
I want it, but I don't really need it.
Right.
Do I need another one of those same things?
Right.
Yeah.
I appreciate
I think
that.
everybody does negotiation.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna start implementing that.
Right. Absolutely.
It helps though when you have a lot going on, like a lot to pick from. You can cherry pick your deals, you know, rather than, you know, having only like a few to look at. You have a lot. You're busy, you know. You got things going on. Like, well, I got to put in these other offers, or you know, I got other people waiting.
Yeah, we're gonna buy 3 houses this month, and we've already bought 2. So, are we gonna do this or not?
Right.
I love it. So the beauty of this is, I mean, if somebody missed this week, they didn't, there's going to be 8 more fantastic laws next week. So let everybody know that they should join us next week. I appreciate you guys being here. This is the end of our 8 chapters. Maya, remind me what we're reading for next week. We're going to do another approximately 70 pages, I believe. Are we through 118 through chapter 18, Maya? Do you know?
Let me check on the messages.
Okay. While she's doing that, any final thoughts on these first 8 chapters? Any ahas?
I think my greatest aha from this is just realizing that it's a certain awareness, and then also it's just another tool and timing. A lot of these things might not be effective if done incorrectly and at the wrong time. But be pretty general on it, because it's really specific. It's just to power, right?
Power. I think that was the big thing for me, that even though it says it in the book, like sometimes we may you have too much empathy. You know what I mean? We need that drive, right? You need that killer instinct, and we don't always have to toe the line, because in this world, like they said in the beginning, right? What they say, there's different pieces, right? Are you a pawn or are you a player? Are you, and for us, we see it all the time. In my opinion, we see people who they're just pawns. They're just kind of, the world makes them do what they do. But for us, we don't. We control our own destiny. We accomplish what we want to accomplish. And that's why we, in my opinion, are going to have more fulfilling lives. Have more fulfilling lives, because yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate everybody here on these calls every time, man. Every week, it's fun, very active, and getting to hear how other people approach similarities and differences. And I just appreciate everybody that shows up all the time. And you, Chris, for putting it on.
You got it, man. You got it. Hey, nobody learns more from these than me. So while I'm giving and I'm receiving all at the same time. So nothing wrong with that. All right, guys. Chapters 9 through 18 for next week. Read them. Think about them. Come prepared next Friday.
Thanks, guys. This is awesome.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Take care.
Chris. Bye, guys.
Stay blessed.